It's National Dog Day. Hey, what's up guys, Ryan here, and welcome back to another tutorial. Happy National Dog Day. In honor of that, we're doing a little tutorial today of a dartfish with my dog Pixel at the dog park. So let's go ahead and look at this footage and jump right in. All right, cool. So here we go. We got this footage of Pixel at the dog park here chasing balls. And we're gonna make a dartfish right when she jumps for the ball. We're gonna freeze her in midair and motion track into the scene. Now, full disclaimer, even though this footage is 4K, because I thought maybe we'd be able to reframe a little bit if we need to, it is shot on a cell phone. It's shot on the OnePlus One, so it's not the greatest footage, but it's still pretty good for a cell phone. So let's get started. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's just drop this in a new composition here. And we're going to track the motion. And, you know, I don't need to track the whole shot. I'll probably just start it from right about, I want to get this jump in there. So maybe we'll start tracking it right here. So I'll split that guy. Let's go ahead and grab this footage. I'll just right click it and let's track the camera. And we'll come back when this guy is done. All right, cool. So even this motion is pretty jerky, pretty handheld. We were able to get a track off of it. So let's go ahead and start tracking our scene here. Now this is just a nodal pan. There's no perspective change. So it's not a real 3D track, but we're just going to get some of the tracking points and put some layers in 3D space. So even if I did try to select a ground plane, it's going to tell me no depth from a tripod pan solve because, you know, like we said, there's no perspective change. So let me go ahead and I'm just going to boost these up a little bit just so I can kind of see what we're working with here. And I'm just going to kind of guess some points that are in, you know, Pixel's jump area. And I know she's going in a straight line. So kind of once we get one, we can work it out from there. So let's just go ahead and let's just take this one right here. We'll create a null on a camera. I'll label this 1. And let's start the effect. All right, cool. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut her out and freeze frame her in certain spots that I want her to have her jump path in the air. Now, if you want to take this a step further, like I did in a previous video, and that's why we're doing this is because someone requested how to do this effect, I would recommend rotoing the whole thing so you could have a little bit of movement if you slow the footage down while she's in the air or, you know, your subject's in the air. But in this example, I'm just gonna do a freeze frame. And same techniques apply if you have moving footage and you want to rotor the whole thing, but let's go ahead and start doing this. So, man, look at this zen-like focus on the tennis ball. It's amazing. So I'm going to start before she's off the ground. I kind of like this dust popping up, so I'll go ahead. I'm going to duplicate this layer. I'm going to take the camera tracker off since we don't need extra effects on there. And let's see, right here. Just gonna trim it to start right there. Let's go ahead and freeze frame this. Time, freeze frame. And what I'm gonna do is I'll just do you know, a nice little mask around her. Whoops, not a shape layer. Let's try that again. Let's select the layer and actually make a mask on it. There we go. And all I'm gonna do is I'll kind of do a rough mask here, and you know, we can always refine it later. All right, you know, just kind of getting the outside a little bit with a little bit of motion blur. And, you know, if we feather the edges, it doesn't have to be too precise. All right, so I'll probably just fast forward through the rest of this, but all I'm doing is just rough masking and cutting her out. All right, cool. So we got our first pixel cut out here. As I was doing it, I actually noticed that I kind of liked, let's call this frame 1, this is 1 dust, and let me take the mask off of this. I kind of like the dust that's here, so I'm going to just sort of you know, bring this dust out just a little bit, and maybe we can get a little bit of perspective parallax on that as it pans across. And let me turn this to none. And I might actually take the dust over here too. And we'll just see if I can use those here in a little bit. All right, so I'll go ahead and just feather Pixel a little bit. Obviously, you'll want to spend more time than I did, but hey, this will work. So let's go ahead. I'm going to turn the dust off for now. And now this is where our tracking comes in. So let me fit this back real fast. It will go in just a little bit. And let's go ahead and grab this null, unsolve this. And let's unhide it so I can see where the null is. And I'm just going to grab the position of that null that we brought out earlier, and I'm going to put it on our cutout layer here. All right, cool. So Pixel is now in Z space. And all I'm doing is sort of lining her back up. And obviously what I forgot to do here is, let's try this again. Let's make this a 3D layer. All right, now she's kind of off to the side. That made sense. I was like, oh, this is kind of working out too easy here. So let's go ahead, copy the null position again, paste it on our cutout. All right, there we go. That was kind of more of what I was expecting. We'd have to adjust this a little bit. I'm gonna hit M and lock this mask just so I don't mess with it anymore. And this null looks like it's actually behind Pixel. So what I might do is just real fast, let's go to the top layer. And I'm just going to kind of center this up so I can work with it here. But let's grab that and we'll just eyeball it. That's a little bit in front. And now we just need to go ahead and start, scaling it into position here so it matches our original footage. So I'm just kind of eyeballing this up a little bit with her nose here. And the reason this might not match up perfectly is because it's actually turning a different way from the camera. So let me go ahead and rotate this so it matches our camera, so it's straight on. I'm just going to turn this a little bit, eyeball it, kind of just turn it a little bit towards our track camera. So now I'm just kind of, matching this Z arrow up with the camera. Let's see if I can line this up a little bit better. All right, got it up with Pixel's nose there. Let's just go ahead and scale it in position. And this doesn't have to be exactly perfect because her motion is so fast that the freeze frame won't matter too much. It'll hide a lot of this. So I'm just kind of rotating this back in, scaling it around, just trying to get it to match our original plate here. Maybe we need to rotate a little bit more. All right, cool. So we kind of got that eyeballed in there. So let me go ahead and zoom back out. And right when she hits that spot, we have one of our freeze frames in place. So we also did this with the dust layer. So let me go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and do P, S, and R for scale, position, and rotation. I'm going to grab all those and, let's solo it. Let's get our dust layer. And I'm just going to paste all those attributes in. I figured it'd be off a little bit here, but again, let's make it a 3D layer. Paste the attributes. All right, now we kind of got our sand going on. Let's set this first layer to add. And you know what? I'm just going to go back to my top view again. Let's unhide this. Just going to push it a little bit in front. And let's unsolo those and see what we got. Cool. So the dust just kind of anchors her to the ground a little bit more there. And now we just kind of keep duplicating the same process. So cool. So let's go ahead and start the process over. However many, sort of dartfish frames you want is up to you. But just to be consistent, I'm just going to keep it even and go, let's say, every 5 frames. So I'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And right there, we'll take this is our main plate. Just going to duplicate it. I'll put it on top. I'm going to make this number 2. There's that number 2 joke again. Let's go ahead. I'll delete the camera tracker. And you know, while I'm at it, I might just make a couple of these so I don't have to delete the camera tracker every time. So let's go back with 2 here. And we still need to make it a freeze frame. And here we go again. I'm just gonna cut her out. And you know, same sort of process. I'm just doing a little bit of a rough roto of her. And I will cut her out. And we'll kind of do the same process of putting it in Z space. And we'll just kind of continue to line them up and make our dartfish going. So I will do this and I will get back here when it's all done. All right, there we go. We got our second freeze frame in there. So now we'll just do the same process. Let's make her a 3D layer. I'm going to turn off my main plate just so we can kind of see it right now. And I'm going to go ahead and just sort of copy the position of our number 1 and paste it to our number 2. I'm going to turn on the background plate again. And let's see, what did we end up going scale by? So like 68%-ish. So I'll go ahead and copy that, go kind of 68%. And let's see if we have any rotating we really need to do. Actually looks like we might have a little bit of scale. So what I might do is I'm going to put the anchor point on her tail. I'm going to go to the top view, make sure it's still on my layer. And it's not. So instead of trying to line this up and eyeball this on my own, I can just go ahead and use this tool to snap it to the layer. And it might change our position a little bit, but let's go ahead and add it to the bottom here. And I'll add it to the tail. And it did push our space back a little bit. So let me go ahead and just move this up a little bit again. All right, cool. So just sort of eyeballing this again. We don't need to be too exact. And let's see if I need to rotate it just a little bit, maybe out. Let's see, it might scale down just a little bit more. And I don't think we need that rotation actually. Cool. All right, so let's turn that back up. It's not 100% correct, but it's close. Maybe I'll go ahead and feather the edges just a little bit again. Let's hide everything. And this is the frame I want to start on, so I'm going to go ahead and start it right there with our alt bracket again. And let me turn this guy back on. Let's see what we got so far. Yeah, right when she catches that ball. Man, that precision. Cool. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep duplicating this process. I'm just going to go forward 5 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's this layer, number 3. I will go, let's see, time, freeze frame, bracket to alt bracket to start it here. And I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to cut her out, and I'm going to do that 4 or 5 more times until she lands. And we'll see what everything looks like when it's all done. So instead of watching me do all that, I'll just keep freeze framing, keep cutting out, offsetting a little bit, moving in Z space, basically just duplicating every time the process. And yeah, we'll see what it looks like. And I'll show you a couple of things you can do once it gets all cut out. And yeah, I will see you guys here again in a little bit. All right, cool. So I cut out a few more frames. So let's go ahead and I'm going to add motion blur to everything, turn it on. And let's just kind of scroll through this, see what it looks like. All right, cool. So that motion blur is helping to out a little bit. Might be a little bit too much because our camera shake is a little wobbly, little handheldy, not the greatest, but let's turn the motion blur down a little bit. Just going to go into our comp settings here. And another thing you could do also is use something like Force Motion Blur or Real Smart Motion Blur to give a blur to the whole thing, because there's not really motion blur on anything. So, but let's just try this first. Right now, shutter angle is really high, so let's do 180 shutter angle and 16 samples is usually the default. There we go. That's turning it down a little bit. Let's try half of that. Let's try 90. Cool. So we have a little bit of motion blur, but not that overkill. And all right, so there we got our dartfish. We got it landing on the ground, walking out of frame like a hero. So let's go ahead and this is our Pixel Jump 4K. Let's make a 1920 by 1080 composition, and the frame rate is 30.07, which is kind of weird. So let's just make it 30. This is our Pixel Jump 1920. And I'm just going to bring the 4K into the 1920. And let's unhide it so we can kind of see how big our layer is. And I'm going to fit it to the frame by doing Control F. And let's see here. Cool. So we have a little bit of resolution to work with if we want her kind of more in the screen here. So I could just scale it up a little bit. And let's kind of see where the middle is. So we'll kind of get her in the middle. And I'm going to put this right at the very edge so we don't get her getting out of frame. And let's go ahead and RAM preview this and see what we did. All right, cool. So I added one more dartfish of Pixel in midair there. And so let's go ahead and, I don't know if I really like the landing one because it's kind of, there's not really a whole bunch happening there, but let's turn the motion blur back on. Let's go back to our 1920 by 1080 comp and let's RAM preview this to take a look. All right, cool. And there we go. There's our dartfish. You know, the camera's a little wobbly. Would be nice if that, you know, kind of gives a little bit of a bounce to our motion tracking there. You know, we could probably resolve that with a little bit more motion blur, but there's a kind of a forward dartfish. And now let me kind of show you another composition. You know, since you already have this built out, if you wanted to do it in reverse. All right, cool. And so here's a look at doing the effect in reverse. And basically, if you just want to do it in reverse like this, all you need to do is have more of a track in the beginning so your layers stay on the whole time. But yeah, all you got to do is, instead of starting the layers where you want to turn on, that's where you turn off the layers. So as you can see, I end the layer, you know, here's our first jump with our dust. As soon as those frames match up, it turns off and the layer disappears. So cool. There's two ways that you can use this effect. Awesome. So there you go. There's a dartfish for National Dog Day. Hug your dog for me. And, you know, thanks for Pixel for starring in our tutorial today. As always, more tutorials coming up. Subscribe if you want to see that. Go ahead and ask questions. This was actually a request that someone gave me, you know, just 1, 2, 3, 4 years ago. But the point is we got it done. We made the tutorial. I hope you guys had fun. I'll see you next Friday. And until next time, we 3D tracked it. We have some Z space going on, and it just looks pretty cool. We're going to have our beams follow it no matter where we reposition it.